Well, at this very time, Senator DeMint made a deal with the State Department, with Hillary Clinton and others, to say, all right, I'll support Tom Shannon as the ambassador to Brazil. And he's bragging about the fact that as a result of that, he got their non-cooperation with the reinstatement of President Zelaya. And so we've actually seen the open tension within the State Department at this time, and President Obama has remained on the sidelines on this one. I think he's making a great mistake, because he said, they're asking me now to intervene, as though we were asked to intervene militarily. We're not asking that. We're asking that the law be kept. The Organization of American States has jurisdiction to solve this problem. They decided entirely in favor of President Zelaya.
I want to go back for a minute. You mentioned Republican Senator Jim DeMint of South Carolina.
Yes.
Explain exactly what he has done and what he has said.
He negotiated.
He went to Honduras, is that right, with a delegation?
And then he said, all right, I am blocking Tom Shannon from being ambassador to Brazil, and I will unblock that if you lay off the reinstatement of Zelaya. This
was his message to the Obama administration.
Yes, and he's bragging about it quite publicly. And so they did. They agreed, which is very strange to me, because Obama condemned the coup. At the same time, he is not allowing the law to be kept. The law is structured through the Organization of American States and the UN, all of which have condemned the coup.
And I want to go back to that point you say that President Obama made, an unusual comment. He said, you know, those who are opposed to intervention are actually supporting some kind of intervention here, critical of those who are asking the U.S. to somehow intervene in what's happened in Honduras.
It's a very strange comment, because we were asking that the law be upheld and that criminals who had overthrown the government of Honduras not be treated on an equal basis. It's as if someone stole your car and the judge said, well, maybe I'll give it back to the one who stole it. You know, there's no logic in the behavior. So we were very disappointed in Obama in that case.
The Salvadoran defense minister says that the military is ready in El Salvador to apologize. What does that mean?
Well, it means someone high up may make an apology, but for years they were torturing the Salvadoran people, and that's why Archbishop Romero commanded them to mutiny. He said, you know, I beg you, I order you, stop the repression. And he was murdered very shortly after.
And, of course, that famous last speech before he was murdered was played in a boombox in the trees of Fort Benning by Father Roy Bourgeois, the founder of the School of the Americas Watch.
And aired that sermon at Fort Benning over the barracks where the Salvadoran troops were sleeping. And they came out hearing the voice of the Archbishop. And, of course, Roy was arrested. He has spent at least 5 years in federal prisons in his protests. And it's a great testimony for peace that he's given to the world. And that was the beginning of the real strong opposition. So he's had now support from all over the country, from universities and high school students. It will be at least 20,000 there this weekend to once again protest at Fort Benning. So it's a very exciting time, but the intervention in the Americas continues. Honduras is one of the ALBA nations. The ALBA nations, including Venezuela and Bolivia and going into Ecuador and Cuba as well, and Nicaragua, are a whole new direction for Latin America, and a very exciting direction. They've come in with a new currency. They've come in with a new banking system. They've come in with a new political system, which the people of Latin America have had in their hopes, desires, and anxieties for centuries. And we're trying to break that link, striking at the weakest member of the ALBA nations. Next, if this succeeds in Honduras, Paraguay will be next, and then it will be Nicaragua, and then it will be Salvador, because you remember the FMLN is now in charge in El Salvador. The FSLN is in charge in Nicaragua. This is amazing. So many of us never thought we'd see so much rapid change in Latin America so fast in our lifetime.
Blasé Bonpane, you just turned 80 earlier this year. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So your thoughts on Latin America as you describe the Bolivarian alternative for the Americas, ALBA, the new leadership in Latin America, and how the U.S., you feel, should be dealing with Latin America?
Yes, I think the whole new movement is irreversible. It's not going to return back where it was. And it's a very exciting development. We shouldn't be afraid of it. We operate on paranoia, of great fear, you know, of Hugo Chavez and Evo Morales, all the way down to Uruguay and Chile. The movement is in process. And it is such a shame that we can't part and parcel of that movement. When Obama went to the meeting with the 32 countries, Trinidad, Tobago, the parting shot from the ALBA nations was, quote, are you a prisoner? They really felt.
What do you mean?
Well, they felt that Obama seemed to be under the spell of the military.
Who said to him, are you a prisoner?
I think it came directly from Hugo Chavez. Are you a prisoner? Because they've seen prisoner, and I've seen presidents who were prisoners in Guatemala. They were elected and then immediately told by the military, you will do what we say or you're out of here. And we almost feel that happening with Obama now. It's quite frightening.
His policy on Cuba?
His policy on Cuba has been to do a few small issues, nothing in the area that should be done. Our business with Cuba has increased massively in recent years, in spite of the fact that it may appear to be illegal, but the rice farmers of Louisiana and other places are doing a lot of business with Cuba.
How?
Well, they're tolerated by the Treasury Department, and the business goes on. But the whole thing should be ended, the massive blockade that has gone on for a half century, you know, and it still goes on. And it's still very difficult for people to spend time in Cuba. If you go there as for a vacation, you can be arrested and fined. Canadians have been going there for decades. It's one of their favorite vacation places.
Blasé Bonpane, the World Peace March that's coming through Los Angeles here.
We're very excited about it. We've been working on it avidly. I just asked President Zelaya to endorse it, and I'm waiting for his response.
You've been speaking to him directly?
Yes, I have. And I think he will give his full endorsement, together with many other heads of state that have given their endorsement. It'll arrive in Los Angeles on the 1st of December. It will be here through the 2nd, and then go on to San Diego, Mexico, and into Central
and who's organized it?
Well, it's organized by the people who are marching. It's a very unusual organization that started in New Zealand, and it's going 99,000 miles around the world in 90 days. And it's on behalf of peace, nonviolence, and end to the nuclear threat to the world. We feel that the environmental movement has got to include the threat of nuclear war, because talk about global warming. If we have a nuclear exchange, there's going to be an awful lot of global warming. So we want to see the environmental movement and the peace movement get married, you know, in other words, to join forces.
Well, I want to thank you, Blasé Bonpane, for joining us. Former Maryknoll priest, serves as the director of the Office of the Americas, a human rights institution here in Los Angeles. That World Peace March begun October 2nd in New Zealand on the anniversary of Gandhi's birth. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We'll be back in a minute.
Thank you, Amy. So good to see you.